Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. It's me, Doogie and Pat back in the pub to answer your questions. No Christopher Hamill this week, he is off on holiday, but he will be back next week, so don't worry too much. Let's get straight into it then. The first question was sent in by Gavan Cop99, who says, it's been a quiet start to the window for Liverpool, but which signing could make all the difference next season? Who do you think could take them to becoming champions?
Well, I'd like to sort of begin this by saying that they don't need a lot, to clarify. You know, they've got 97 points, obviously won a Champions League. Their defence was incredible. They only conceded 22 league goals, which is the third best record in history. They only dropped 6 points to sides outside of the top 6. Third best finish in Premier League history against City. Obviously, they've got the top 2 in the last 2 years, so they don't need a lot. But there are some areas that I think they could add depth to and are also a bit of star quality. And the first one is left back. They lost Moreno, who's gone.
Where did he go? Is he just
He's just been released.
Nobody wants
Along
him.
with Sturridge. They just said, thank you very much, Alberto, but you haven't been much good for 2 years.
Why aren't you picking him up? Old Arsenal, you can do with him.
What about you?
What do you mean? We've got Luke Shaw and Dalot, mate. And Ashley Young can cover in there.
I'm sorry, whenever I ask you, I'm like, who's covering this position? You're like, Dalot.
Yeah, obviously.
Who's covering left back? Dalot. Who's covering right back?
Yeah.
Dalot.
No,
Who's
mate,
covering right wing? Dalot.
I just don't think you want to be near Kamikaze Moreno.
Let's put absolutely no faith into he who should not be named next season. So Dalot is covering both
He'll
roles.
be your captain.
Moreno
won't be anywhere near.
like
Yeah.
Palace-y.
I think he might go back to Spain, to be honest. But I'm not
Barcelona
too bothered,
were
to be
linked to
honest.
Moreno.
That was weird.
That was
yeah,
fun.
I'm not quite sure about that.
He
But-
is kind of a bad Jordi Alba.
Yeah.
A very bad Jordi
limited
Alba.
for Jordi Alba. But the names they've been linked to are quite interesting, actually. They've been linked to Matt Targett from Southampton, who played about 14, 15 Premier League games last year. Very good defensively, doesn't offer a lot going forward. Had a great campaign at Fulham the year before when they got promoted. He'd be an interesting backup, but it's kind of difficult. They're basically signing someone that won't kick up a fuss when they are clearly second choice, which is kind of difficult to do because obviously Andy Robertson was probably the best left back in the world last year. I think he played 47 games, 13 assists, was just incredible. So they've got Matt Targett as one person they've been linked to. They've also been linked to Jamal Lewis, the Norwich City left back, but seems unlikely they'll want to lose him after they've just been promoted. This is their big chance back in the Premier League. They've also got the option of promoting a guy called Adam Lewis, who's been well talked about from the under-23s. But the player I think they should go for looks like he's joining Man City, and that's Rodri Cancelo. He's nominally a right back, obviously, but he can play on the left. And that is the player that Liverpool need. They need a backup right back who can comfortably play on the left.
But he's way too good to be a backup.
Yeah, he's not going to be a
for
backup
40
to
games.
either.
But when you're trying to create a world-class squad that can compete with City, who have 2 world-class players in every position...
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't. They
do.
do not.
Except for
They will at the end of this
They will
summer.
at the end of this
This
position.
is
At the
su-
end of this window,
this
they
is
sign Rodri
such a
and Rodri
myth.
Cancelo.
This is such a myth about.
At the end of
about
this
Man
window,
City.
At the end of the,
they
they
will.
will.
Potentially, actually in midfield, I don't know that they will. Like they will have Rodri, then they will have a 35-year-old Fernandinho.
He'll be 34. But
He's already 34.
he was still one of the
so-
best. He was probably the best DM in the Premier League.
I
last
think,
year.
I think this is an absolutely ridiculous statement. Like, I mean, they don't have world-class players. They have because they have two. Who are their second choice world-class centre backs? They have one world-class
Stones.
centre back. They have one world-class centre back, and Stones isn't a second choice. Like in an ideal world, they're playing Laporte and Stones.
second
After
choice,
that,
yeah.
you've got Otamendi and Mongala.
To be fair, they are looking to bring in a centre
Who's
back.
their world choice goalkeeper? Like a world-class goalkeeper. I don't think this is true. This idea, like you just with Pep, I think Pep is able to get like weird quality out of guys who are just like who wouldn't be that great in another side. Like the fact that he's able to turn Zinchenko from an interesting young attacking midfielder into a very good left back for much of the season.
But considering that, Gabby Jesus, Sane, Gundogan aren't regular starters, if they bring in João Cancelo, Kyle Walker will be on their bench. If they bring in Rodri, that's Fernandinho on the bench. That is unbelievable squad depth, which Liverpool can't really compete with.
It is, but I think this season their squad depth was a little bit overrated, like given some of the players who were getting substantial minutes. Like over the last couple of seasons, substantial minutes for Zinchenko at left back, substantial minutes for Fabian Delph. And Gundogan was pretty much like not really cared about until about halfway through the season, and then he ended up having a phenomenal last third of the year.
He was great, wasn't he?
But to be fair, that was because also KDB had a horrific injury.
So left back is one of the areas I'd target. I know Pat wants to talk about a potential attacker, but I think they need another creative midfielder in there as well. I don't think it would go amiss. their goal contributions, except for Milner, who got 4 goals and 5 assists, were pretty weak. I don't think anyone got more than...
Of which most came from the penalty spot as well.
Exactly. I think Wijnaldum got 2 goals, 1 assist. I think Henderson got one goal, 3 assists. Fabinho, something similar. Naby Keita only started, regularly contributing goals towards the end of the year, and I still only think he finished with 3. So another creative midfielder in there wouldn't go amiss. And if I was them, why are they not picking up Hakim Ziyech? 25 million, low risk. He's proven quality in the Eredivisie and the Champions League. He could be. I don't think he'd kick up a fuss about not starting every week as well. It'd be a great option.
I think he would, but I'm not. But I've also read a few things that kind of contradict that buyout clause. Like I read an interview with Van der Sar where he was like, "There isn't a clause, but we've got a gentleman's agreement to let him go if the right club come in with the right fee."
Okay.
I don't think it's an actual contractual obligation, but they've kind of said to him that one more season. They've done that season. Now he can go.
He's also got slightly the wrong profile for them. Like the one place in their attack where they have cover is playing off the right, a left footer playing off the right. Like obviously it's a big step down from Salah to Shaqiri, but they do have Shaqiri there. On the left, they've got nothing. They've got like Origi. If Mane gets injured, up front they've got nothing. They've got Origi. If Firmino gets injured, like to me, a forward who can play centre forward and left wing is important. Like I think at left back and right back, you can afford to take some cheaper, younger gambles. For me, the two problem zones are centre back and then a genuinely world class forward to back up.
Centre back they're quite well stocked. Lovren and Matic, reasonable.
They're okay, but if Van Dijk were to get injured, that's where your worry is.
Yeah.
Like they're fragile at the back in the sense. I don't mind who's next to Van Dijk. I think they'll be fine. But if Van Dijk gets injured, you're in trouble. Up front, I don't worry too much about the lack of goal involvement from central midfield because I think they're a team who are geared around getting chances for their front three, and they don't. Firmino's goal numbers aren't great, but we're not looking to upgrade him. Like,
I do slightly worry though if one of them gets injured, then they'll need regular contributions.
Well, this is what I'm saying, but I also think that next season, you'd expect more attack-wise from Keita. Oxlade-Chamberlain will be back, and he looked great in his first season with Liverpool. So I would probably look for somebody who could play off the left and through the middle, and they were linked to Memphis Depay. I don't think he would break the bank. I think he'd probably be about 60 mil. I think that this idea of will they accept being a backup is kind of bollocks when you're talking about forwards who are going to be playing in a side that will have 60 games in all competitions this season. There will be tons of minutes to go around. Like you can be not a first choice and still have 40 appearances in all competitions. And I think in someone like Depay's case, Liverpool would be able to play a 4-2-3-1. They'd be able to rest Mane. They'd be able to rest Firmino. If anyone got injured, they'd basically have no problems because Mane could shift back over to the right to cover Salah. So that to me is about building it. What Man City aren't. I don't think Man City are a team with 2 great players in every position. But I think they're a team who are not fragile. In that if there is an issue, I trust Pep to be able to plug somebody, however odd a fit they are, into that position and get enough out of them. I think Liverpool will take a substantial step backwards points-wise next season, while still being an amazing side. I'd expect them to slip way back towards the 90 region. Yeah. Whereas I think City will probably be about where they are.
Probably.
Yeah. You make a very good point. I personally think they should just go balls to the wall and get De Ligt. As a central defensive option, I think. Obviously becomes an immediate starter alongside Virgil van Dijk. That partnership would just be the best in the league, probably the best in the world. I think that as good as Joe Gomez is, he wouldn't necessarily still have a problem rotating in and out of teams somewhat. And if you were to free up that position with the sale of a Lovren for, I don't know how Liverpool do it, but Liverpool always sell backups and players that are unwanted for 15 to 20 million quid. They're brilliant at it. If you could get 20 million pounds for a Lovren and bring in De Ligt for 80, so sort of a 60 million pound differential, I think that would just be the signing of the summer. For me, that is their one biggest problem area. I totally understand your point of they need a backup to the forwards because there is an over-reliance on them performing every week and not being injured every single week. But like Pep, I also trust that Klopp could shift to a 2 and then make it work. I don't know whether he could play Mo Salah as a point man, as a 9. We've seen him do that on occasion this season, or him and Mane as out-and-out front men. I just think he would make it work in the same way that Pep would. But I think that if Van Dijk was to get injured, there's such a reliance on a singular figure there, whereas because there's a 3, if one of them get injured, I still think the 2 can step up. Whereas if Van Dijk gets injured, I don't think Gomez can step up. I don't think Lovren and Matip can step up to that level. So I think I would personally go balls to the wall for De Ligt and then also get a backup left back in, just cheap as chips. Not really sure where that comes from.
Bring forward Matt Targett.
Whether or not you go to Madrid and you say, can I take one of your boys off you? Obviously,
I think there are a bunch of left backs around. There's like Aaron Martin as well, who was like on loan at Mainz last season from Espanyol, who's like got great attacking numbers. Like 2 chances created a game, good defensive numbers.
I think if Real though are going to let one of Sergi Reguilon or Teo Hernandez go, I think if you can pick them up for sort of that similar sort of Andre Gomez figures of like 20 to 25 million, like Everton did off Barcelona, I think that'd be a really good signing. So I'd probably go for them in the league. I'd also trust. Would I trust Origi? I probably wouldn't trust Origi, but he just seems to have it in the big moments, doesn't he?
With serious momentum as well.
He's an adequate 4th choice player, I think, Origi. And the midfield with Oxlade coming back, I think is perfectly fine. So my option would be De Ligt, a left back, and just wouldn't touch the front line.
I think you make an interesting point about Origi because his impact was pretty much underrated, but also the amount of games that Sturridge actually churned out in other competitions was pretty underrated as well. I think he made 18 Premier League appearances, only 4 starts. I think he played 27 games in all, and with him going, you need another forward in there.
Also scored that whopper goal at Chelsea, didn't he?
100%. They've been repeatedly linked with Timo Werner, who's apparently stalling on signing a new contract to RB Leipzig. Personally, I don't see this happening. I think if he's going to go anywhere, he'll probably wait a year and then go to Bayern.
Yeah, definitely.
But apparently he's available for £46 million. And at Leipzig, I would have thought would be much happier to sell to Liverpool than Bayern. They're not really on the same wavelength as Liverpool at the moment, whereas obviously they're trying to win the bully.
I think the other option is a forward. If Liverpool are going to go out and they're going to go balls to the wall, because I think City are having like a miraculous summer bringing in Rodri and Cancelo for a combined €100 million. Like that is a ridiculous summer. I think if they're going to go balls to the wall and going to spend 100 mil on a player, spend it on and it's not going to be De Ligt because he ends up at PSG obviously. Go for Dybala then.
Yeah.
Like that's the sort of player who can cover multiple areas, can fill in that false 9 role, young profile.
And it also is like, I trust Liverpool. Liverpool have done their transfer business intelligently, which makes me think that they will be thinking about in a couple of years' time which of these guys are we going to sell.
Yeah. I think it'll be Mane.
And in that case, it depends who comes in, right? I think if Real Madrid had gone for him this summer, it would have been him. But I'm not sure who would go for him in a year or two's time. He might just miss his window for that position. But I think they will look to sell one of these in a couple of years' time. It will probably be Firmino, I'd imagine. But because they are so smart, I think they probably are thinking about who they can get in now, who could grow into the heir to one of those guys.
There was a few comedy rumours going around on Twitter, wasn't there? I think Paul Joyce retweeted a video of Mbappe, and then somebody photoshopped Mbappe's head onto an unveiling video of Nabil Fekir last year. But do we think that they're anywhere in the ballpark of signing that sort of level player? Like Neymar is also available this summer.
They're consistently linked with Ousmane Dembele, but I think it's just paper talk, to be honest.
Neymar's also probably available.
If Ousmane Dembele has another year like last year where he was pretty much underused, I think they should go in hard for Ousmane Dembele next year.
But would he accept being potentially a backup?
Yes.
Well done. Got it.
Would he accept being a backup at Liverpool, having been a backup at Barcelona?
True.
Because that's a slightly different situation to someone like Depay, where you're like, we're going to rotate. I think with Dembele would be like, I am starting every game. I think it's a slightly different
scenario as you're talking about if they sell one of their top stars.
But you are right with the Sturridge thing. With the Sturridge thing, clearly with Sturridge and Origi's appearances, there clearly are a lot of minutes to be soaked up by somebody.
But then maybe they're thinking Rhian Brewster might start to step up to that sort of level.
Okay, but that
then Woodburn as well.
But then if your argument is, okay, well, City have great players in every position, what City don't do is say, well, maybe this 18-year-old will step up to the right level.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't even done it with Phil Foden, have they? Phil Foden's quality is obvious, but Pep just doesn't seem to want to risk it. I mean, he gets minutes, doesn't he, but very limited and usually in cup competitions. I just think Liverpool should just blow it all on a central defender. But what do you guys at home think? Who should Liverpool go for this summer in order to make them champions next season? Hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does, who should it be? Let us know in the comments below. Before we move on to quick fire questions, if you are new to the channel and want to subscribe, make sure you hit the button and turn notifications on right now for more great football content. And if you like your podcast Make sure you go and download Sunday Vibes Extra Time. This week the boys did a how to fix Arsenal.
Yeah, we did indeed.
Very good stuff. It's you, George and Dude.
George's debut was superb.
What an absolute dream team that is. What a trio. Let's get on to quick-fire questions then. The first one from Silky Rogic says, will AC Milan ever become a force again like they were 2003 to 2007?
Ooh, that was an exceptional crop of players, 2003 to 2007. That was pretty much unrivaled. It was one of the best crop of players, bar Barcelona around, and recently Madrid, bar Barcelona under Pep. That was an incredible crop of talent, particularly in midfield and defence. I think it will take quite a while. They were there or thereabouts for the Champions League under Gattuso last year. It never really looked like it was going to happen, and everyone was pretty sceptical and just waiting for Gattuso to blow up. It didn't actually quite go like that, but now they brought in the Sant boss, Gianpaolo.
Is that who they've brought in?
Yeah,
I missed that.
It was announced this morning, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So they've got another exciting crop. I mean, Romagnoli, Paqueta in midfield looks useful. Piontek up front. They probably need another striker. They got Cutrone as well. Suso had a good year last year, although you think that might well be his peak. They'll be competing for Champions League. I don't see them winning a title next year.
What do we think?
Something remarkable.
What do we think of the Sant boss?
He's a good coach. Like, he'll play an interesting style of football. He's very good at developing young players, which is something they might need to commit to. But yeah, I also find it hard to see them getting anywhere near that level again. To be honest, I don't think that they'll even be in the hunt for the title. Like, you look at Napoli now. Napoli are better set up, have better players, have a better coach.
Bring in Hammers as well.
I think Inter obviously have probably now the best coach in the league. And yes, they make some weird transfers, but at the same time, I think that Conte can solve most problems. I just look at Milan and I think, who are the outstanding players here? Like, there are lots of interesting players. There are lots of guys who are decent, but there's just nothing that suggests they will win a title or be Champions League dark horses at any point in the near future. They're a little bit like they're basically at Arsenal's level and probably a little step behind. Arsenal do have a couple of top players, like Milan don't.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, we can't predict ever, because in like 50 years you never know what's going to happen. But in like modern future, I totally agree. I think Sarri versus Conte battle is the most interesting thing Serie A have had in a long time. Like,
there's so many ex-Chelsea managers.
Like, Allegri is just rolling. When Allegri is just rolling the league over season after season, it's just dull. Like, I think him versus Sarri was a fun battle, and now Conte versus Sarri is a really fun battle because it's two totally contrasting styles. But AC, it'll just be another bland season, I think, for them. If Conte can get that deal for Lukaku done, it seems like it's dependent on shipping Icardi out, then I think they could push Juve pretty close this season. I really do. I think
yeah,
Conte,
especially if Juve changing style.
If Conte are going to be real,
he's more mobile.
I think he
and he'll play, which Icardi did.
He suits a Conte system more, I think. Like when Diego Costa Costa was in that pomp under Conte. I think his movement was pretty key, and I just think Icardi's not going to come as deep and get involved in that area.
I don't see where Icardi's going though. There's been very little talk about him going anywhere. Real Madrid have obviously signed Jovic. I don't think Barcelona wants him. He's not a Barcelona style of player. No one in the Premier League needs him.
I think United rejected the swap deal. They offered a swap deal.
I think that's probably sensible.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't want any part of that. Like, he's a pain in the arse now. But I think, I think Juve could have an interesting season because they've kind of been mortgaging their future in favour of the present, So I think I think now they'll keep Dybala now Sarri's there. But if they lose Cancelo, and that defence is getting a year older, like they're really, really old now, man. Like, there are big problems there. Like, I don't know. I look at that squad and I think this is dangerous. And then giving huge wages to Ramsey is dangerous. And they've still got Mandzukic, Douglas Costa, Khedira, Matuidi. Matuidi was like the third most used player in their squad last season. They need to think about what they're doing. And Rabiot will solve a lot of problems if they can get him, but they need to get that over.
And the games that Chiellini and Bonucci missed last year, the drop-off in their quality of their defending was so massive. I've been touting Rugani for a move for ages, but I actually thought he was really poor whenever I saw him last year. And hopefully his old Empoli boss coming back, who he played really well under at Empoli, will sort of get him going, because Juve need him to step up soon.
Yeah, I mean, that Cancelo sale is so weird. Like 25 Serie A games he put up last season, and I think...
And they paid a fortune for him.
And not only that, the chat is not just that they need the money, is that they think he's a bit suspect defensively. Like, I think Cancelo is like one of the best two-way fullbacks in the world.
I think he's amazing.
Absolutely incredible, and I'm sure he'll prove it next season at Manchester City when that move eventually happens. And if they're kind of leveraging his exit against a Rabiot signing, or in order to pay his wages, or
Pay off some of
obviously
Ramsey's
Paul
maybe.
Pogba heavily linked there. Paratici has said numerous times he still wants him to return, and I think the Italian press was saying yesterday that Pogba prefers a move to Juve than Madrid.
I saw that as well.
Which seems to me like
I get that.
Raio's basically had a chat with Real and they've gone, we can't afford it. And he's gone, nah, it's Juve for me, boys.
Fair.
So I think that'll be an interesting summer anyway in Serie A. Captain Gunnar has the next quickfire question. Says, does Neymar back to Barcelona make sense?
I guess. Like, I mean, PSG aren't really getting their money's worth. Like, they paid a fortune for him. They pay him a huge amount each year. He has not been available to make the difference in the Champions League games, and the Champions League games are really the only ones that matter in a PSG season.
Yeah.
If he goes back to Barcelona for some combination of players and money, I think that could probably work out quite nicely. Like, the rumour was that Barca wanted to send Umtiti, maybe Rakitic, and Dembele the other way.
Which
And
for me, PSG are getting the better side of the deal there. by
yeah, I would
distance.
take that.
And
Definitely.
cash, I think it was, and 80 million euros.
Yeah, which I don't understand the maths on that really, but like
And
because how much are they calculating Dembele's worth or Umtiti's worth? But then you think, yeah, you can let Kimpembe go. You put in Umtiti, like that's pretty nice. Dembele plugs into your front line alongside Mbappe, which is amazing.
Give Rakitic
And-
15 games.
Yeah,
That's your
Rakitic
uncle.
will be useful. Like I think that's
Yeah.
pretty tasty to be honest.
I mean, Rakitic feels like the odd one out because they bought Herrera in on 300k a week. And I think the issue they're going to have is do those players want to go to PSG? Like, it's all well and good agreeing that in principle, and that sort of deal is always like a media touted deal. I've never ever seen a four-man move like happen in reality.
I think Dembele and Umtiti would like it in the sense that like they'll be paid very, very well and they'll be starters again, which
Yeah.
isn't really happening to them now. And to be honest, they're just not appreciated at Barcelona right
Yeah.
now. Rakitic, if they give him a longer contract than the one he's currently on at his age, you pretty much accept that as well. So I think they'd be okay with it. But yeah, you're right. Like every single summer, it's these players are going to be swapped. This is going to happen,
Swap deals.
and it never happens.
It
It
also-
never happens.
it
It
also-
might happen more. But
From Barcelona's perspective, I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever. They need to replace Suarez. They don't need to bring back a 27-year-old Neymar.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
who do I back on having the better impact next year at Barcelona? Neymar or Dembele? Probably Neymar. But in the next 5, Dembele could be a world beater by then, whereas
And I have
Neymar will
to
be
say-
32.
Yeah, they're obsessed by reliving like past glories and like safe options. They're like, we know this guy, get him in.
Yeah.
He came through our academy.
Plus,
get
if there's
him in.
anyone I could back to not use them properly, it would be Valverde as well.
Like, I really love Neymar. He's obviously a fabulous player, but some of the stories from behind the scenes as well, like
He's just pissed about. isn't he?
becoming an absolute nightmare behind the scenes by the sounds of it. I think if you're going to spend money like that on a 27-year-old, then just spend half the amount and get Griezmann.
I wouldn't bother. I wouldn't go for either.
But they're going to sign one of them. Like, I think it's going to be one of those names level coming in anyway.
Jesus.
And I think I would go Griezmann. It's going to cost less, going to be less of an issue.
I mean,
think
Neymar
I
is
agree
better
with
and younger, but I mean, like, I understand where you're coming from. It just feels like with Neymar, like, it would probably be best for Neymar's career to go back to Barca because all his diva-ish qualities and all his dickishness is kind of tamped down a little bit
Yeah.
when he's got like Messi there and Suarez, where he's not like the big swinging dick. Whereas at PSG, like, he went there to be the big dog, and obviously now that Mbappe is better than him, he's like throwing his toys out of the pram. So
Yeah, and he's like, this consistent injury record is not helping him. It seems like every time he steps on the training pitch, somebody's trodden on his ankle, and he's rolled it, and he's injured.
You'd have to say, from his perspective, the move has not worked out.
Yeah, I don't think Barca should go
well,
for it.
except for his bank
Imagine
balance.
what Barcelona could have done the last 2 years if they had Neymar as well.
Yeah, although they have one back-to-back.
Yeah, I don't.
They
They
I
could
still
have
don't
gone further in
think.
the Champions League. Though.
I don't know if they'd have won it still.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty happy with that 240 mil they got for him. So
Yeah.
Earl
Even though
Gen-
they've wasted it all.
yeah, they literally have. Earl Gennaro says, ideal transfers for Leicester, Wolves, Everton and West Ham. Now, West Ham, I think Pablo Fornals and Jones Jordan, if they get them done, as
And
good as you
potentially
could
Maxi
possibly
Gomez.
imagine if
Yeah.
you're a West Ham fan. What about Everton? Andre Gomez, done and dusted. 25 million, yeah.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Like, I mean, alongside Idrissa Gueye, like, he's allowed to just do ball progression. His ball progression was a lot better than I expected this season. I still don't really get people like tweet at me and they're like, "Oh, you're wrong about Andre Gomes." I was like, "Was I?" I feel like I was exactly right about Andre Gomes. I think he's kind of just a bit of a nothing player. Like, but he's
fine.
He's
isn't
nice
it?
on the ball.
Million euros,
He's nice on the ball. He
there.
does a bit of ball progression, and alongside a defensive powerhouse like Idrissa Gueye, it works.
Not as good as Pablo Fornals though, at the same price.
No, I agree with that. But it's a slightly different player. I think they need a couple of forwards. Like, they've been linked to David Neres, which would be fun. I think if Bernard is starting for them next season, that's not a great situation. If Walcott's getting a lot of minutes, that's not great. I like Calvert-Lewin. I love Richarlison. I think if they get in another one or two forwards, that would be good. And they probably want to think about who's going to take Coleman's place in the long term.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, but need centre-backs as well. I mean, Jagielka's retired. Zuma looks like he's going back to Chelsea.
Yeah.
So
that leaves them with Mina, Keane.
That's it, though.
Yeah, they need a couple more, but like that's a pretty good centre-back pairing.
I think they'll probably be chasing one more. What about Leicester and Wolves, the other team?
If they could get Tielemans. I've heard so much that Tielemans is erring towards signing for Leicester.
£40 million
over United.
Yeah, I think United are only interested if Pogba leaves, right?
Tielemans is so good, man.
Like that,
especially with Ndidi.
United only want him if Pogba was to go.
They don't really need much at all.
It really depends on their outgoings, doesn't it? If they obviously lose Maguire or Chilwell, then they need to sort that out. A long-term replacement to Vardy, but Vardy, we just keep on saying this, and he keeps on producing year after year.
But a guy who could take Demarai Gray's position now and potentially take Vardy's in the long term. Like, they don't actually need to do much to their squad except keep everybody. So if they could go and spend like 40 mil on like Joel Linton off Hoffenheim or something,
if they could
and
pick
play
up
on the wing and then play on
by selling Ian Acho, because Ian Acho's move
well.
just hasn't worked out at all. If they reinvest that in Joe Linton or someone like Sebastian, imagine if they could get someone like Sebastian Haller.
I just think Thuram would be such a good option for them.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, pick him up so cheap.
Because
he would sit on the bench as well.
Demarai Gray's the odd one out. Like, you look around that team and you're like, Vardy's still great, Maddison's amazing. Harvey Barnes looks really,
just signed a new
really
5-year
good.
deal as well.
Yeah, which he totally deserves. Had a really good second half of the season. And then you look at Demarai Gray, who's like just nothing. Nothing special.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of cheeky bids for Maddison before the window closes, though.
Oh, for sure. I think, if Pogba goes, United will go really heavy for Maddison. Like, there's loads of chat about Bruno Fernandes, but that is just quickly becoming another Nicolas Gaitan situation where
William Carvalho.
It's the Portuguese press.
It's the Portuguese press. I think they only remember the one English team name, and it's Man United. So everybody gets linked there. I agree. I think they'll lose Harry Maguire this summer, though. I think United will massively overpay. Probably a £40 million player, and United will probably double that and stick an £80 million bid in for him.
Which of these teams are you most optimistic about? Like the future of?
As in Leicester.
Because I'd go Leicester, Wolves, Everton probably, or maybe
West Ham above Everton.
I think I'd still have Wolves ahead of Leicester because I think they're less likely to lose assets this summer. Yeah, I think I just don't see anybody coming in for like Ruben Neves there's not even any talk about him. Although you are very reliant on João Moutinho, like what now, 33, having a similar season as to last year.
Yeah,
but they are. I don't know. The thing with both these clubs are rich enough to just say no. Like Leicester can just say no, or they can sell one guy and keep all the others.
Yeah, and it will be Harry Maguire.
A couple of injuries to their forward line. They've got obviously Raul Jimenez and Diego Jota, but then I think you're going down to
Wolves,
Adama
Leicester,
Traore and is it called Caballero?
Yeah. Although, having said that, West Ham have so far had the best summer of any of these four teams.
Well, they've had the best summer in the Premier League because no one else has done it.
I mean, Man City seemed like
they're not confirmed yet, but yeah.
Yeah, they need to get James Jordan. Boss Rillisson says, who do you think will be the first to be sacked the upcoming season?
Whoa.
Spicy.
Juicy.
Who is there? Who's coming up?
There's Solskjaer in there. There's Unai Emery in there. Frankie Lamps won't. Apparently he's got a 2-year guarantee.
Emery will never be relegated and will never be sacked by Arsenal. They might let him go when his contract ends next summer, but they won't sack him because Arsenal just love this idea of like we're not that sort of.
It's so mental that he got such a short contract.
Yeah, but I think it's quite smart because Arsenal just know they can't afford to pay him off. Who are the guys coming up?
Well, there's Chris Wilder at Sheffield.
I think he'll be safe. Chris Wilder will get at least
Bark at Norwich, and then Dean Smith at Aston Villa. I feel a bit harsh saying one of them because give them a chance.
Yeah. But statistically speaking, they'll be in to get sacked.
Yeah, probably.
Because you think about like Howe is safe at Bournemouth, like Dyche is safe at
Potter's
Burnley.
probably safe at Brighton.
Well, this is what I was actually about to put him forward because I haven't seen that much impressive business from them yet. And their form at the end of the year was horrific.
Yeah, but you're hoping he gets a massive upswing out of a lot of those players.
I think that's
also
quite
don't think
better than
Swansea had a pretty mediocre squad, but I wasn't exactly wowed by Graham Potter last year in the little that I saw Swansea.
Swansea fans were, though.
Swansea fans, I think, were really, really happy. Like some of the stuff he got out of Ollie McBurney and Matt Grimes in central midfield.
Bertrand Selina.
I think you'll see a massive upswing out of players like Yves Bissouma and players like that underperformed last year compared to what we expect, and then suddenly everybody's like, how are they suddenly this good?
Yeah. Who else is in the middle of the table?
Benitez, Hassan Hotel.
Now Rafa is an interesting one because
there are weak candidates.
if Rafa
Dean Smith.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be one of the promoted boys. But Rafa, new contract, is he going to get it? Is he going to go to bloody
Big offer of
China?
I think it's 12 million a year from Dalian Yafang, maybe? Or no, I've got that wrong, which Chinese club
That
it is.
takeover's gone very quiet. Newcastle,
Seriously quiet. It always does, though. Do you remember when Amanda Staveley was minutes away from signing, nothing happened?
Yeah.
Newcastle just a bit of a joke.
I feel like Mike Ashley maybe just makes outrageous demands behind the scenes. He's like, you pay off all my debt, you do this, you do that.
I think I'll go Fark at Norwich.
Norwich. I feel harsh going for the promoted boys. I'm going to go Potter.
Smith, Villa.
Okay. The last quickfire question then before we move on to personals. If Pogba leaves United, then will Bruno Fernandes be the ideal replacement, or should they go for an Isco/Van den Beek and a defensive midfielder? That's sent in by Nikhil Wandawa 11.
Well, Isco and Van der Beek are quite different style players.
Yeah.
Van der Beek's more of a central midfielder. Isco's obviously a pure 10, really. It seriously depends on what Solskjaer's long-term vision is, what formation he wants to play. Like, does he want to play 4-2-3-1? Does he want to stick with the 4-3-3?
I don't think Pogba's going to go.
I don't think he will either. It's just going to cost so much, and I think Real Madrid, could invest in other areas or in other players in that area, I should say.
Yeah, I think everybody's like talking about Pogba as if he's already gone, and after that interview, and like rightfully so, I wouldn't begrudge him a move at all. Probably better than Manchester United are right now at that level. But he's going to get priced out. Like United are going to demand 160 to 200 million for him, and nobody's going to pay it. Nobody is going to pay that.
It was a weird interview in that he just had no need to say it so publicly so early.
Well, it's because United are just locking him down. Like that's just pure Mino Raiola saying we need to start moving this along. Because United have quoted teams 160 million pounds. Nobody's going to pay 160 million pounds for Paul Pogba right now. Like Real Madrid don't need that player at the moment, in my opinion. It's like a luxury player, Pogba, for Real Madrid right now, and 160 million pounds when they've already spent what, 350 have they, something like that, 320. They just won't do it. Like PSG, I don't think you're going to do it, having already bought Herrera in. Juventus, with the signing of Rabiot and Ramsey this summer, don't think they're going to do it. Bayern aren't going to do it. Barca aren't going to do it. They've just bought De Jong in. Like, where does he go? Yeah. Like he's in the Gareth Bale conundrum. He's like locked in to the Neymar conundrum.
You already arguably need two central midfielders with Herrera leaving anyway. If Pogba goes as well, it's a mess really, that midfield.
Yeah, and the Bruno Fernandes thing we mentioned earlier feels like kind of paper talk. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, but equally it would surprise literally none of us if he was still a Sporting player next season.
And it's not exactly a bargain. Like I mean, for that same price,
had a fantastic season, but he overperformed and a lot of penalties.
And if you got 150 mil for Pogba, you could buy like Thomas Partey for 50. You could pay the buyout clauses for Thomas Partey and Giovanni Lo Celso, and you'd be better.
Yeah, and throwing Hakim Ziyech in there as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's go on to personal questions then.
Someone like Sarabia.
This one was sent in by, oh wow, that is some pretty rogue ones here. Samiran Shiny says, what song would each of you have at your funeral?
Ooh. Cheery.
Pretty morbid from St Mirren Shiny, not gonna lie.
You know what everyone has at their funeral? Like, because my dad's a vicar and he was just like, everybody has My Way at their funeral.
Oh, so really? That's quite a selfish song.
I always just think it's kind of like, it feels defensive. It's just like, I know I did a job I hated for 50 years, but I did it my way. And you're like, did you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's
sure.
a bit needy. I kind of like something quite upbeat. If this is tomorrow, God forbid. Well, from my point of view, I'm enjoying it. I do not want it coming anytime soon, so I'd definitely go for something quite jolly, I think.
I'd go for Who Let the Dogs Out.
Who Let the Dogs Out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different vibe.
Yeah. Who let the dogs out? Who?
I thought
who?
you just
who? And then you just have me pop up from the coffin like, hey.
I just thought you'd have like a pure house mega mix.
Oh,
Just
I think
3 hours of
that'd be a bit
house.
too. It'd be a bit
Imagine
too
if they were like, and now for some
class.
music, and then it literally just went on for 3 hours.
just a boiler room set. Just a boiler
And
room
everyone
set.
was
All
like,
around the coffin.
Ooh,
Now. 4 o'clock here.
Time to go.
that's strong.
Everybody's just doing lines off the coffin. Just absolute state of it. No, I'd go for Who Let the Dogs Out. What about you, Pat? Have you got to pick one? Come on.
Many Rivers to Cross, Jimmy Cliff. It's just classic.
Don't know it.
It's just a great song.
How's it go?
No, you can just look it up later. People who are watching this on YouTube,
Oh, yeah.
go to the top, type it in.
Dukes?
I'll go Runaway by Kanye West. With the piano intro. Long piano intro.
I mean, if there was one song I didn't think you were going to say in that moment, it
I
was
love
a
that
Kanye
song.
West track.
Yeah.
What about the bit where he's like, this one's for the douchebags?
Alright, fair enough. There we go. That was it for Sunday Vibes. If you want to get your question answered next week, follow us on Twitter because usually Doogie, me, Pat, Chris, whoever puts out a Sunday Vibes tweet for questions.
And he's back.
Flies everywhere in here. Send the questions, put them in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. What else is happening over on EFD today, boys?
EFD will be a scout report. Go watch that. Go watch Friday's Consensus Club. Go watch Stat Wars, the league, which came out yesterday. And go download the podcast as well with George, myself, and Pat. It was a fun episode actually.
Is there a dogcast this week?
Yes, I'm shooting it this afternoon, so that should be available to download when you see this.
Yes, just search it into the podcast app. The game's gone mad. Thanks very much for watching. Au revoir.